My name is Herbst. I'm partner and CTO from Dubex. I've been working with cybersecurity for more than 25 years. What I'm mainly focusing on at the moment is helping board and management around cybersecurity.
So tell me, what does the current threat landscape look like right now?
What we're seeing at the moment is a lot of criminal groups having a lot of money to invest into cybersecurity. So we see a lot of money-motivated attacks. And what we're also seeing at the moment is various intelligence services being much more aggressive in the different kinds of attack they're doing.
How does this new threat landscape shape the way organizations approach data security?
From an organization point of view, you have to be aware of this expanding threat landscape. And the problem today is that no matter how big or small an organization you are and where you're working, well, then you're basically a potential victim for these groups because, well, they're financially motivated. If you have any kind of money, then you're an interesting victim for them.
Can you tell us about the challenges that engineers meet when trying to implementing cybersecurity measures?
The challenge for engineers today is actually both being proficient within their, you can say, traditional area of maybe doing a building or doing some kind of machinery, but you also need to know something about cybersecurity to make sure you do a secure product. I think the biggest challenge facing engineers today is actually having a level of awareness. The first step in handling cybersecurity, you need to realize that there is an area you need to focus on, and that's actually the biggest problem at the moment.
Can you sample some successful international efforts to combat cybercrime?
What we're seeing right now is that many of these cybercrime groups are placed in countries where we cannot get to them. But what we're also on the other hand seeing is a growing cooperation between especially European and American law enforcement. And fortunately, we from time to time actually see them successfully being able to crack down on some of these groups. If we're looking at what we're seeing right now, I think we're going to be seeing a more challenging threat landscape. And that's simply because these criminal groups have a lot of money, they have a lot of resources to invest into business development around cybercrime. What we're also seeing on the other hand is due to the growing conflicts between the Western world and especially Russia and China, we see them also investing a lot of more money into resources into being able to conduct cyber attacks. And for that reason, we're going to be seeing a growing threat landscape. And to make matter worse, we have a lot of focus on digital solutions using digital technologies, which makes us more vulnerable. So we need to have a lot of focus on actually protecting all these digital assets. Fortunately, we have, as I see, the means and tools available, but there is a lot of work in actually getting it done, and that's the big challenge today.
Do you see the role of engineers working in cybersecurity evolve?
From my point of view, engineers is a very important part of making this happen, because it's actually up to the engineer to make sure that the products we're using have the right security level, have the right security functions in place to be able to handle all these new threats. And also with the growing complexity we're seeing is quite often also engineers who put things in place, as engineers build the solutions. And because of that, engineers has a very important role in making sure that the things are built in a resilient and trustworthy way.
There's some ethical aspects that engineers also need to balance when working with user privacy and data protection.
All the new digital technologies gives us great opportunities for collecting lots of data. And basically everything today has sensors and cameras and microphones and so on. So seen from an engineering point of view, you need to be very aware that you're actually just collecting the data and the information that you need as part of your solution. It's always tempting to collect as much data as possible because it might be that you have some use of them moving forward. But from a privacy point of view, you really need to focus on minimizing the data collection.
We are seeing lots of new regulation. Does it make a genuine difference?
The EU have a lot of emphasis on promoting digital Europe. And I think there is a realization that unless people have some real motivation for implementing cybersecurity, it's not going to be happening fast enough. What the EU is trying right now is actually to put some regulation in place to make sure that cybersecurity is also being focused on when implementing new solutions as part of digital Europe.
And what challenges do you see in the implementation process?
When you have to live up to this regulation, you need a lot of skills and competences you typically don't have today, especially in smaller companies. There's a lack of these kind of resources and competences. So seen from a company point of view, it can be very difficult to make sure that you actually have the knowledge in place to be able to implement this. It's also a big change in how they're working, because all of a sudden they need to have a lot more focus on compliance, on documenting things, on keeping things up to date and procedures in place. And especially for smaller companies, it's a big challenge to live up to all this. Right now we are actually in a place where it's a bit difficult to quite know how this is going to be playing out, and especially the relationship between vendors and suppliers. What kind of requirements do you have to put up to your suppliers, and as a supplier, what kind of documentation will your customers be expecting?
Do you think lawmakers listen enough to engineers when writing these new regulations?
I think from the political point of view, quite often you're not in a place where you understand enough about technologies and how technologies are involved. So I think the politicians definitely need to have more focus on technologies and what engineers are saying, because that's actually key for us as a society to succeed in many of the agendas we have.